Hello everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is a rail tour of my second playthrough, and basically it's a chance to show what I've been building on the railway side of things. You'll see a little bit over this side is where I've got my hub. The train we're on is my construction train, and I'm just waiting for a little bit of daylight to start so we can do the whole tour in the daytime. Okay, dawn is just breaking, so in a moment we'll be setting off. Several things happen at this part of the build. I've got my recycling system here on the right, and the recycling trains come in just here. But then we're going to go and join the main line, which heads off out to the rest of the network. Oh yes, we've got a slight halt while a train comes through. But on the first part of this network, we're going to swing over to the area where I actually started in this playthrough, which was right up on the cliffs here in the rocky desert. Now the railway came in much later, but you can see there's a few stations up there that are collecting items. We're going down into the construction side, and you can see here that for all the remote construction stations, I just put a station head in. I don't bother unloading the train, I just go and grab the items directly out of it. Now this only takes me back to the main line, and we will actually come round on the track ahead shortly. Just appearing there on the right, you can see a little bit of the items I'm beginning to make for phase 4. So steel production, making some pipes, and basically bringing items together for the regional base, which we passed a few moments ago. Slight pause while that train ahead clears through the junction. Now the junction itself is controlled by path signals, so this is now saying its path's clear. We're going in the opposite direction. You can see here that for a change I've double stacked my lines, and again this is a typical junction for a double stacked line. Works quite successfully. We'll go to that a bit later over to the right, which is where my space elevator is, but to start with we're going to cut out onto this single branch. This is only a single direction branch, it's a single track, single way, and there's a lot of concrete out round here, so I'll be sending trains round to collect that. So that picks up a couple of concrete nodes. A bit further down, this will pick up some more. Also, as we head down into the next section, you'll see a little branch part built, but that's going to swing round and pick up the 2 quartz nodes that are deep in the cave over there. Slight pause while this goes through its docking cycle, even though it's not actually going to load anything. This is a route I've used before, but not with a stacked track. I quite like this for coming around this part of the coast. Just takes you over the water a little bit, and the pillars are set down onto the seabed, and over there, as I say, that's where I actually started this playthrough. All that area is being completely demolished and rebuilt. I've done quite a bit of building work throughout this whole region, so you will see quite a bit under construction. Like many, this playthrough isn't complete. The buildings generally are anchored to the ground, but I haven't done a great deal of detailing on a lot of them. There's 1 or 2 that have, but not many. And the other stack you can just see ahead there that came into view is a stack of generators. I have been bringing in packaged fuel, but I'm changing the scheme now and just making more generators local to the resources. Now this bit we're heading into now is going to be my final assembly base for the phase 4 items for the elevator, which just happens to be moved over there. You get the odd glimpse of it. I had to squeeze in this route to get a loop round, so taking it up and over was really about the only option. And you can see how I structured it just to get the swing in. And then these couple of little bends here, they just make sure that the train gets completely clear of the other two stations. My construction trains are always designed, on my construction platforms, they're always designed so that they take the construction train right off the main line, and other trains can carry on running around it. There's a little unpackaging system on the left for fuel, but again, I'm probably going to change that. I'm taking that part of the function away. Right, carrying on. We're now heading out to what I call the North Bay, and it's where I do a lot of the mining and a lot of the work from the resources, also on the edge of the North Forest. So this is where I pick up all those really nice pure nodes. And that stack is a stack of refineries doing steamed copper sheets. That factory over the way there is making silica, loads of silica, because we also make loads of circuit boards here. That's what the copper sheets are for. And then there's a bridge with a belt bus coming across, bringing everything over. The next factory coming up on the left is actually more of a finished factory, and that's my basic munitions. You can see a few rifle cartridges coming through there. The next stop is really just to collect the sulfur and caterium from the local area. Sulfur's collected as a raw item, and the caterium's collected as ingots. There's also a couple of useful concrete nodes up here, so again I've got a station just to the right which picks that up. My aim here is that I have trains going around, circling through all the concrete stations. A single concrete train will stop everywhere. I might run 2 trains for that. Now you can see just to the right, these platforms, these stations, you can access back in either direction onto the main line, but this particular one I didn't have the room to do it. So for the first and so far only time on this network, coming up is a return loop, just switching from one line to the other. That was so that when I'm building in that area I can send the construction train back for a refill, and it doesn't have to go all the way around the network, because this network does encircle the map. I had quite a bit of fun getting through all the trees here, planning out how it would go. A lot of it's done by eye, just copying these rail pillars from one joint to the next. I use area actions for that. And you can turn them, you can change the height, and then I look at them when I've positioned them using the preview mode, and I think, yep, that looks good. Couldn't resist this little bit of route through, using this little stone bridge. And then we come up to my bridge across the next expanse, which was featured on Community Highlights. Again, using concrete and a little bit of polished concrete for effect. Carrying on up, we're heading more towards the desert, and just coming into view to the right you can see another of my bridges. I like that one so much I actually made, well, what's on the Skim site now as a mega print, so that I could just copy the whole thing straight in. Anyway, rushing out to the desert. this is just being developed for Phase 4. I'm going to be harvesting quite a bit of the materials in here. So there's a couple of stations already to the left, but there's lots of scope for expansion to take it further out. And again, for the construction side, this rail is specifically for the construction train, so I can park that up and I've got a nice stock of materials. Setting off back round. Usual sort of thing, it just loops back round onto the outlet from the other stations and then comes straight back onto the upper part of the system. And again, you can see a bit of my bridge in the distance. For those who do know, yes, it is modelled on the Forth Railway Bridge. It is pretty much scale, full length. One thing you'll notice as we get a bit closer is when this end was built, it was pre-update 6, so there was a little bit of a different landscape, and the bits you see floating were actually buried in the landscape at the time. Something I need to get round to finishing off. And that station at the moment is not even connected. Right, well, I'd like to think this gives a bit of a feel quite close to going through the Forth Bridge itself. I need to do a fair bit of work on this. I want to replace the pipes with non-indicator pipes. I've made a start, but replacing some pipes has caused the thing to crash, and there's no guarantee as to which pipes are actually going to do it and which won't. So for now, I've sort of shelved that idea. But the other thing you might have realised is that the bridge was built for a side-to-side or side-by-side type of railway, so I've had to tweak the entry and exit to go into the stacked track instead. Now this side of the network has not been developed very much at all. It probably will be. Last time I took a track down to the right to get the bauxite and so on down there and produce some aluminium ingots. This track carries on ahead and then down, but we're going to take a fork left because I'm going to be developing the Blue Crater. It's all part of my plan for Phase 4, and at the moment this is just going down to a station for the construction train, but it may well become the entry to Phase 4. If you'd seen my previous build, this is where I built the Battersea Power Station. Now, when I build railways, I like to cut down trees where the trunk goes through the track, but if it's just the leaves, I quite like to leave them. It gives quite a nice effect, I feel, and there's a lot of that on this stretch. That tree's coming out though. This part is very much the same route as I did in the first playthrough, but I have tweaked it a bit further on. Somehow I went adrift here and I ended up going down and under another stone arch. Then coming out, again, it does follow the route I used before fairly closely, skirting the edge of this big crater, but I couldn't resist this time taking the railway through that stone arch. Just had to be done. Grass fields are in my plan for Phase 4, but I haven't done anything particularly over here so far yet. This again is swinging over more towards the position where I took the railway through last time. Again, I'll be picking up ingots, I'll be picking up lower tier items. My plan is that lower tier items get made locally right next to the resources, mid tier get made at the odd regional factory or two, There's a mid-assembly factory which brings everything together for the high-tier items, and then those will get taken over to the space elevator for final assembly. The low-volume stuff will be probably more likely by drones than by train, but you also need a lot of copper ingots. So having got there once in Phase 4, I know exactly what I'm facing this time. I had great fun with my last railway going through here. I haven't got any of the branches that I had last time yet. Just coming up where the path goes off up ahead, I had used that as a shortcut out and then through a rock tunnel, but haven't done that yet here. You can see, oh yeah, Mr. Bean gets in the way all the time there. But this is a major mining area for oil, the Gold Coast, and I'm making it one of my main power stations for the whole factory. I'll probably go nuclear a bit later on, but initially I'm working on fuel. The clad buildings have refineries in them. This one just coming up on the left at the moment is making packaged fuel to be shipped out round the network, but I'm changing it for generators, as I have done over there. I have used refined power in this build, but I've not been doing very much with it, mainly because with all the updates it usually breaks mods for a while, and first time round my entire grid was refined power, and I suddenly realised, hang on a minute, I'm going to lose power to everything. So I tend to stick with vanilla power generally and just dabble in refined power for now. I pick up a little bit of bauxite from up above. That was a temporary setup just to get some aluminium ingots made and some aluminium sheets. Anyway, here we are, dashing on in, and we're now approaching my Fixmas factory, which again has featured on community highlights. I was lucky enough that the tech tree was still in my MAM and has been right through the year, and the whole tech tree was completed. So as soon as Fixmas arrived, I was able to actually completely build a factory. You can see I've now got my blueprint builder, and again I'm going to spend some more time with that. I haven't done much with it yet. That completes the tour. We're back at my hub, and that's what my rail network looks like. And I'm going along just to say hello to my nice little doggos. Thanks for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe to catch more videos as they come out.